you doing today?
I'm fine, Tamika. Thank you for having me here. It's great to talk to you.
Oh man, no, thank you for joining us here at Tam Talks. It is an honor, and I'm just excited to chat with you today. As you know, over the years, I met you at an event, and I just
Mhm.
fell in love with your spirit. I fell in love with you. And you have been consistent over the years. I have seen you. I have gotten to know who you are. Why do you think you have been consistent in your personality and how you treat people? It doesn't matter where you have gone in life, people you've met, the success you've gotten. You stayed humble and consistent with who you are.
Well, that's so nice. So thank you. That is really great to hear, especially in this time when, it's not as easy to stay upbeat sometimes. I think I've been really lucky in my career to work on things that I care about. I've worked in social impact media for the past maybe 15 years now in sustainability and now in gender equality. And I've been able to frame the work around things that are of authentic meaning to me, which makes it a lot easier to stay consistent if I were having to kind of promote something or market something that I didn't feel strongly about, believe in. I think it would be quite hard. And it's not. I'm not always nice or upbeat. I have to, manage a profitable business, and so I have to be. I don't always like the decisions I have to make, and I'm really lucky that I have certain forums in which I can remain positive and balance the sometimes challenges of being in business responsible for people, for their welfare and their livelihood. So I'm very glad that you're one of our community members who gets to come out and spend time with us, because that's BlogHer and some of our events for Media are my favorite things that we do.
I love them. Like the first time I went to a BlogHer event, I felt like I was immersed in like a completely different place. And I just fell in love with everything. I love the care that you take to make us feel like we're somewhere different, we're somewhere special. And I applaud you and your team for that amazing feel. Even the bathroom
Yeah,
be popping.
that's so great to hear. I mean, it is definitely the legacy of BlogHer, which was founded, 16 years ago now by three women, Elisa Camahort Page, and Joey Jolie Desargens, and Lisa Stone. Their goal was to build real community, and I think it was before we all talked about building community as much as we do now. Online, because it's, I think we've really seen the merits of that. They got ahead of the idea that women produce really positive, productive, culture moving content for the web. And this threesome really put together an amazing forum, and we've gotten to carry it forward. SheKnows bought the company in 2014, and it was one of those acquisitions that I loved the brand, and had such respect for the forum that it's been like an honor to get to work on it. And the whole team on BlogHer and the whole team in Media, I think, really loves that opportunity to create an experience that we hope it feels really different, that you feel comfortable, at ease, but also inspired and challenged. We do want to challenge our community members to sometimes think differently or look at ourselves in the mirror differently. So yeah, you're very emblematic of our most productive community members, and we're very blessed to have them.
Yeah, and one of the things that I love is, and I believe this, is when you go to the events, I feel like the people that attend your events are a reflection of the host and everyone there. And you feel the community of love from not just the CEOs or the hosts, but even from the community of women. Like, they're so nice. Sometimes you go to events and people are just like, don't touch me.
Yeah,
And you feel weird. But going to a BlogHer event, it's like, I'm going to meet up with my girls that I've never met.
that's so great. That's like should be our hashtag or our motto. And that's like about the community, the people who choose to go to BlogHer. That's where I think when you're creating events and experiences and media platforms like you do, you're your opportunity is to set a mission, but ultimately it's only going to be executed if the people who show up for you are there for authentic connection and are there with like open heart and open mind. And that's, again, that's the magic, but it's sometimes we're like, I hope the community responds and is open. And there's only so much I feel like I know how to do to make that happen. And I think we can start with trying to be really open ourselves and reveal some vulnerability. But BlogHer, and this is where I can't take any credit because it was created that way. It was created with a really strong commitment to representation, to composition of people who attend, age diversity, gender diversity, except that we're mostly women, racial, ethnicity, diversity in all of the cultural attributes that make us interesting. So I think that's something this event has done really differently. I don't see that as often at other women's media companies of our size.
I would not say to you, don't take credit, because I will let you take credit. And this is why. A lot of times people take over a company and change the vision and the trajectory, and then it fails. But you literally took the vision, ran with it, and made it successful on several levels, because you have SheKnows Media, you have BlogHer, StyleCaster, and I'm like, how did she do it?
That's so nice. Well, thank you. It's good to have friends and community members who remind us to accept a compliment and to say thank you instead of dissuading.
Right now you are home quarantined with your kids and you have a teenager. How are you?
15-year-old and 11-year-old, 15-year-old girl, 11-year-old.
Wow. How are you balancing everything? Homeschooling, still running your businesses, and still being successful at it, mind you, not just running it, but, going ahead of the curve, far ahead of the curve.
Well, I don't mean to deflect, but it's a hard environment for media right now. So I feel like we've been successful in keeping our teams motivated and maintaining quality products. And we've been, again, really fortunate to have people really show up for our virtual events. But it's a hard time. Admittedly, it's a hard moment in the industry for a lot of people, a lot of our colleagues, and a lot of people who are losing jobs. We've been able to weather it, but it is going to be a tough year. Balancing it, I mentioned this to you earlier. I am admittedly, despite the unbelievable sort of tragedy and hardship that the globe is facing, I am privileged in that I don't have to worry about food. I don't have food vulnerability. I have the ability to keep my family relatively isolated from danger. And I, as a working mom for 25, no, I haven't been a mom for 25. I've been a mom for only 15 years, but working full time throughout. This is the first time I've been able to kind of wake up with the kids, not be racing off, have dinner often with the family. And that has been that's something for which I have a lot of gratitude. There's the scuffle and I'm not a great homeschooler. I'm learning. I'm not good at math anymore. I don't know if I ever was. I can't remember the conjugations in Spanish for my son who's in 5th grade. So there are definitely things that are hard, but my hardships are very light. And I'm, again, privileged to be even generating some new elements of intimacy probably with my family that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten. So my struggle is relatively speaking pretty mellow.
Gotcha. But at least you're balancing it, because you're one of the first people that I saw was able to, okay, so New York is shut down, these states are shut down. You had a major event coming up, which was the Parenting Summit. But within probably a month, if so much, you guys literally bounced back from it, created, and not just, okay, let's have a Zoom chat with everybody.
Right.
You went all out where there was a login, it just looked different. So even though you weren't,
that's great to hear.
You felt like you were there. What was the were you planning? Because I feel like you guys knew ahead of time what was going to happen.
No, for
'Cause
sure.
you
Oh
guys did it
dear.
so
No,
good.
I was like in LA still, like traveling a ton, and people are, I was, it caught us all obviously extremely off guard. But what's great about having a community, and I think this is true of lots of brands who are able to innovate in this time period, is we have a strong community of women who show up for us. And so if we pivot, we're very lucky. We don't have to recreate a community. Now, our team is very deft at flipping and saying, okay, what's magical about BlogHer? We can't have offline events. We can't get people together in a room. How do we create an experience? And I'm really stoked to hear any positive feedback about the experience people have had there. How can we create that without, all these people in a room where you feel the energy? How can we make it special and different? And we use a platform which works very well and creates a beautiful background. I don't know if you were there at the end of the event, but like I was about to do an interview with Laura Prepon and everything crashed. So it was, and thank God I have a colleague, Reshma Gopaldas, who was like, is funny enough that she was able to like riff through it and keep the audience engaged. But that was pretty terrifying. So we had a team that pivoted really quickly. They're very versatile, and they were able to move, like once we understood we weren't going to be able to do our events the way we typically do, they moved very quickly towards what's special about BlogHer. How do we recreate that online? And, we have another event on Wednesday, Healthy at Home. We also made them free, which has been really helpful to people. Normally there is a ticket cost. It's low, but so we've made them free. We've had a lot of celebrity and talent who are interested in participating right now. So we have one on Wednesday, and the team is just very impressive in their ability to take, again, what we do well and figure out a new platform. Everyone's learning new skills. It's pretty cool to see in some ways.
Yeah, because even when, like you said, even though it did crash, everybody
You saw that.
everybody,
God,
we
that
were
was
like on
so,
Twitter, we were on Instagram, we were like, okay, so we need to get back.
That's right. Oh, good for you. You went. Reshma told everyone to go to Instagram, and then we were going to do a Zoom, and I froze. I was like, I don't know what to do right now. This is so stressful because and then you start seeing tweets that are like, what happened? And I just was like, how do I get through my laptop to talk to the people who have shown up for us? And it did come back. The platform's called Paragon, and they were very committed to getting us back online. But it was, yeah, you're right. We sent people to Instagram, and it was so, I still like feel it in my stomach. That was not chill for me at all.
It was, and it spoke a lot, because a lot of times for people, if a platform crashed, they'd be like, okay, so we're going to do something else and not care.
Peace out.
Everybody came back. So I'm not a Twitter person. I really am not. So when the event was going on, in the corner in the left, there was the Twitter box. I re-downloaded Twitter.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yes.
Twitter thanks you.
So I literally did it for that, because I have a Twitter account, but it's the most boring thing you'll ever see.
It's mean on there. Yeah, I'm scared of Twitter. It's like people are just like mean.
And one of the things you debuted, or maybe you had it before, but it seemed to have been debuted during that time, was quarantine. What kind of inspired you to do that? Like, I really love the concept. I love the fact that it was funny and informative. What was the drive behind that?
Thank you. I'm really, you're asking about all my favorite things, which means you're a really good interviewer and researcher. So Quarantine, with the TEEN, is brand new. That was our first episode. It's, about a 7 to 10 minute airing or compilation of kids at home, teenagers talking about their experience, answering some questions. You're right. We love that it's Reshma, the woman I referenced earlier, produces it. And she produces it for SheKnows, for our SheKnows site, which is for parents, really all about parenting and raising good humans. And we realized that there is this trend that's sad and upsetting around teens experiencing significant anxiety and depression as a function of being home and not, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I So I can just postulate that it's being on your own in isolation when you're at a time where you are adolescent, hormones are raging, you sort of need outlets. They're spending a ton of time online, which can be exhausting in a different way, not physically. Their physical activities are really limited, as is the real touch side of community. And there's, increasingly, we started quarantines about a month ago, and, the data is starting to really hit the zeitgeist now around these mental challenges that teens are experiencing. So that was something that we felt passionate about, was what's going to happen to teens if they're, we've always worked with teens through our Hatch program, and like looked at just this next generation of humans and how fascinating and in some cases progressive, challenging they are. Well, what's going to happen to them? And we wanted to hear from them directly. So we have another episode coming out, I think on Thursday, and it's funny and sad and concerning. We're trying to give services to parents to really help them navigate this terrain. But yeah, so quarantines is both our social mission, and we're finding some really humorous content in there. Again, and also kids are just jonesing for outreach, for connection, and I think connection with adults, even because they don't have school in the same format, and they like to be heard. So we'll be doing that, I think, as long as quarantine and the return, assuming there is one, the return to school happens, we'll be following that whole trajectory with quarantines.
Yeah, because I like it, because we never really pay it, even though we have gone through the teenage stage, now that we're adults, it's not something we always focus on. So I love that one of the highlights was to focus on, our future leaders, the
Right.
people that are going to take over from us. How are they doing? So I love that. And you gave parents a different lens to look through to understand them. Because I feel like a lot of times during this quarantine, adults is like, our lives are uprooted. We're upset.
Right.
The kids are going through almost the same thing.
Totally. You forget. Like I forget. I'm like, oh, my kid, it's so tough to be homeschooling and have my kids around. And then I'm looking at my son, who's a very active kid normally, and really, it's challenging to maintain attention for him to a screen when he's not being really corralled by an educator. And you're like, oh man, this is a significant percentage of their life right now. To be home for, say, 6 months when you're 10 is a lot of time. And it's, I don't know that I was attentive enough to the psychological impact on kids. And so it's going to be interesting and to watch, but I agree with you. We get a little myopic in our own experience in these times.
Yeah. What do you think has prepared you to be this great and successful leader you are today? Because I know you shy away from that, but I know there had to be something that kind of prompted you, because a good leader, again, tells on how their team is active, how their team treats them. So that's what makes you a good leader, and the people that follow you and the quality of people. So what would you say has been the thing that has prepared you, or, set it up so that you can be the great leader you are today?
Well, that's, again, very nice. And I will, thank you. I think I'm always learning and trying to be better at being a manager or a leader. I don't feel like I've arrived and that I'm here and I'm done and I'm a great manager, or I'm a great, I always know what I think the right business move is, or the right mission move. I think I'm actually, as I get older, I'm kind of more aware of what I have to learn on those fronts. But I'd say really early in my career, I got into digital, into web platforms, really early, where there was I didn't even have email. It was 95. And I started working for a startup, and I created, I found myself in a community of amazing, really innovative, excited people. Over time, it became largely women, and with a real diversity of perspective, because we all sort of arrived in the digital landscape, but from different places, because there wasn't really wasn't graduate school for digital media and so we came from all different backgrounds. Some of the people who were the best programmers hadn't gone to college and had just really been self-taught. So I've had this community of really, really strong women who we really, I think, raise each other up. We buoy each other's career efforts. Having that has given me confidence, I think, and many of them are excellent leaders, and I think learning from them is very helpful. And, something I rely upon quite a bit. There are people who I work with really productively, who have, come along from 2 to 3 companies with me, or worked for me for many years, or with me over, in my entire career. And I think that, I don't think it's everybody. Like, you find your chemistry, and I work really well with people who challenge me and who are tough on me, and who kind of call me out or say, but do it like with authenticity and honor and truthfulness, and sort of with an eye towards improving all of, our dynamics. And so I think the best leadership lessons I've learned are really from peers and people who will tell me when I'm not doing a good job and why, and like explain what's not working for them. So I've been fortunate to have a lot of strong women in my life, and there are plenty of people who don't like working for me, to be clear. Like, that's not everybody. I have a lot of enthusiasm and passion for what I do. And so it's hard for other people who might not feel the same way, or feel the same like intensity of career engagement.
What would you say, apart from being a woman, what is your drive, or why do you advocate, or you take out this microphone, you turn on your speakers, and you demand that women be treated equally, that women be seen, that women be recognized in media, that women just have a voice in every aspect? Because again, going back to the parenting, you don't just cover one thing. Like, you go through the process. Let's cover breastfeeding. Let's cover education. Let's cover every part of being a woman, because a lot of times we're one-dimensional in how we advocate for women. But with She Media, you cover every aspect. So apart from you being a woman, what do you think is that passion that kind of drives you? Like, listen, women's rights.
Yeah. We try to cover everything within, especially the zones of kind of impassioned content that is culturally relevant to women. I think for me, I probably, like many people who've ever felt in a room that they are being treated differently based on something. I think it's frankly probably a lot harsher for a woman of color. I think it's tougher for somebody who's in a persecuted religious group. But I felt somewhat other when I was coming up in business, and I wasn't really, frankly, used to that. I think I have a really strong matriarchal lineage, and I played a lot of sports, and I have really, like, my high school friends remain some of my best friends in the world. And so but getting into college, and then really in the classroom, you start to notice who speaks more. And I noticed myself feeling defensive. And then on the job, as much as I worked with wonderful people, there was just a structure that was different when women spoke. And I noticed it with, colleagues of mine speaking. And I didn't know, it wasn't like there was one guy who's a jerk or one woman who's uncomfortable. It felt very systemic to me, and very, supported by an inadvertent patriarchal structure or construct that was very hard to permeate. And again, as I got older, I realized it was this structure includes a lot of additionally subjugated people who have, who are marginalized because they have intersectional challenge. They are not only women, they are women of color, women of non-majority religion, non-majority sexuality. Like, it was amazing to see how consistent it is that you don't get the podium or the voice. So that bugged me. I have plenty of frustrations, and I am not always, I can get a little hot-headed. So it bugged me. It bugged me that I felt men had just felt more entitled to a podium. And, as I get old, then I realized I'm a white woman. I can it's pretty freaking easy in the great scheme right now to speak. And it's, going to be easier for me than some of my colleagues And I mean, I'm, gender majority in terms of my identity. I'm heteronormative, all of the things that did make it easier. So it started as discomfort, I think, and an awareness of a construct that I thought was really bad. And I thought, I think women leaders can be better in many cases than men. And I think having some experience of being marginalized in a room is helpful, because you can maybe see, hopefully, other people who feel marginalized and expand the purview and the understanding in the room. So so it started from being angry, and then and feeling like I had an obligation to address things, then became like, wow, you can see all these other inequities, and then it feels like you've got a responsibility to maintain a generally positive point of view. Like, women are great leaders. Diversity creates better products and better businesses. A multitude of voices creates better content, things like that I feel strongly and positively about. But, if you stop the drumbeat, we have changed so little in society. Like, you're awesome for maintaining the positivity, and I won't go to negative places, but even just watching this pandemic, it is hitting a lot of people really hard, and a lot of privilege is being reaffirmed. So, so I guess it's inside me somewhere, from the experience of, there's nothing like being a little bit discriminated against to open your eyes to how really bad it is out there.
I see that. I hear that. And it's very important for you or someone to stand up. Somebody has to start with the standing. And because there are other people in the room that may be quiet, feel the same way. And then you decide, you know what, I'm not going to do this. This is not how it's going to go. And I'm going to speak for not just myself, but for an entire gender of people.
Mm-hmm.
That quality is wrong. Because
Mm-hmm.
through you, BlogHer, I've learned a lot more. Being in the groups between Amanda and I can't remember her name. You said it before.
Amanda Letterman, Reshma.
And Reshma, I have learned so much because I follow them both in you.
Oh, that's awesome. They're great.
And I love it because you get to learn about things that you would not have otherwise known. You get to be aware of so much that's going on in the community. And within even the BlogHer community on Facebook, which I will tell you guys, make sure you join it. It's really good. There's a lot of times where Amanda does this thing where, different days she has different things. Like one day she'll have promote your brand. Just to get everybody on an equal chance and an equal platform. A lot of times we say, oh, within the women community, there is, we're not equal. But BlogHer, you guys work so hard on creating that equality. And that's one of the things that I adore.
Thank you. I think it's a forever, will be a platform where we're trying to do better, and hearing you say that is, very meaningful. And then we also have, we have a community that I feel in general wants to help us do better. I've had people approach me after I, come off the stage or something and say, I've noticed that you don't have a lot of trans people on stage. And I was like, you're right. We didn't do a good job maybe recruiting or contemplating that voice would be missing and that it would make better content. I had a woman, challenge me on not having enough people with physical challenges and who are ability challenged. And she was right. And, so there's always this balance of what are you doing well and where do you need to improve. And I feel like we're very lucky to have an open dialogue with our community. We try really hard not to be defensive and to say okay, we hear you on this. Maybe there's a reason that we're struggling in that regard, and how can we get help? I've had people call us out on language that we use that might not be, I don't think we're called out as much as many media outlets, but where I or a colleague of mine uses language on stage that's not as inclusive. Obviously it's always a mistake, but then, we engage in that dialogue. We apologize. We're like, wow, this is a great learning and others can learn from this too. Amanda Letterman, who you're referring to, runs all of our social products. And she is, we're lucky we have people. I was gonna say, she's a very community centric, open person. And you need people who really feel passionate about the community and about women's voices, or they're just not going to be that good at it. Honestly, it's something that I've gotten dinged for saying, but if you're not that into it, you're not going to like the job of working on BlogHer. And so we do recruit people who appreciate and love the mission, as well as have a skill that we desperately need in order to propel the business.
Gotcha. But again, I keep saying it because it's important to me. I still love how the community, even during this pandemic, you guys are still creating good content. There's no deviation. There's no lack of good content when it comes to BlogHer. It's like you can go there and feel inspired either by one of the lives someone is doing, or just what you're posting, or based on an event that's coming up. So, with some people's like the last time they posted was since March, and it's like, okay.
Right.
So we're going to stop visiting that page because there's no growth.
No, these guys are so active. I mean, they feel it. That's where it's like, if you love the community, the team, loves it. They love what they're doing. They're dying to know what everyone in our community is doing at home. They're creating new kinds of content. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that also, because I think it's really, this time in our lives is creating really interesting creative challenges and opportunities, I think, for content makers. I mean, look at yourself. You're like stepping into a leadership role here, facilitating meaningful dialogue that can keep people, learning and open and inspired, hopefully. So I think it's for some people who are really motivated to take the challenge and sort of figure out what positive things they can do with it. It's a great moment, career-wise.
Gotcha. So I've enjoyed my time with you.
Thank you.
So I want us to play a quick game, and I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and you have 5 seconds to answer them.
Wait, each one, or I have to answer it? Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Okay.
Oh, you have like 5 seconds to come up with an answer for each one.
Okay. I thought it was all in 5 seconds.
No, I'm not that good.
Okay.
Okay. Favorite guest you've interviewed?
Hang on. Gabrielle Union.
Okay. I'm going to ask why.
She was so magical and funny, but also could go back and forth between like extreme warmth and like very cogent political or business advice. Like, she was just incredibly smart, but also warm. The other one was Jamila Jamil, because I just sat back and she talked. Like, she was just like, I didn't even have to interview her. I felt similarly about Gabrielle. Like, certain speakers are so compelling that I just let them roll. But Gabrielle Union is just extremely smart and warm and empathetic. It was just a joy.
Beautiful. Okay. Favorite thing to do in your downtime?
Sleep.
Favorite food?
I'm not a foodie at all. My favorite food is steak, which is going to make everybody mad who's a vegetarian. I love steak. I love red meat.
What has been your best BlogHer event, SheMedia event so far of all time? Go through it.
BlogHer Health 2019. Yeah, BlogHer Health 2019.
Gotcha. Okay, last question. This is my favorite. Who's your favorite child?
I love that question. Depends on the time of day. No one's ever asked me that. I love asking that question because people are like trying to answer and then they're like, oh God, I can't answer that. Honestly, in the morning, it's my son. In the afternoon, it's my daughter. They merge by evening. I mean, there are moments when each is terribly sweet and each is terribly hard to handle. So
thank you so much, Samantha. It was a
pleasure, Tamika,
with you. And, I can't wait for the event on Wednesday. I'm definitely already registered and ready to be there.
Awesome. Well, great. We would love to have you speak at a future event because it's just so great to hear the way that you're engaging the community that we care a lot about.
Thank you. Thank you, Samantha. Bye.
Thank you, babe.